Give us a brief overview of your background.
I graduated from Yale in 2017. I was a double major in economics and global affairs and knew I wanted to go into business and get my hands dirty, and consulting felt like the perfect place for it. I was fortunate enough to get a job at BCG and since then specialized in public sector work and technology.
Why are you pursuing an MBA?
I started thinking about MBA more seriously, not just as the next appropriate step for consultants, about 2 years in, and realized that while I really liked the solving problems, the working with teams in a big environment, I wanted to solve tough problems with my own company and not just be an advisor, but someone that can take those decisions. And I felt like consulting wasn't getting me there 100%. Business school felt like the right next step to be surrounded by people who took different paths to get there, people who didn't go to Yale, who didn't have all of these big experiences below them, but had that same creativity and passion.
Why did you decide to work with Inspira?
I actually applied for business school back in 2019. I knew it was the right next step, and I had narrowed down my focus thanks to BCG's own support services to London Business School, Stanford GSB, and HBS. I got very fortunate and got accepted to London Business School. I got an interview at Harvard, and I was not successful to move forward on Stanford. Come Harvard, I felt like even though I had all of these supports I had practiced with my friends, when I actually got there to the interview, I hadn't done my research to really be prepared for that step one, and even went away with a knot in my stomach of, I don't know how can go. Then COVID hits, and I was able to defer my start at LBS because I knew moving to London during a pandemic wasn't the best time. And throughout that journey, it gave me more time to really sit back and think about, again, what did I want from business school? How do I want to pursue this? And I started looking at US-based grad schools. And I hadn't thought about as seriously reapplying until I found myself talking to Kamir for a few minutes. And I had heard about grad school support before, but I figured if I already have my essays down, if I know how to approach this, maybe it's what are they going to sell me on? What can I do? That call was actually much better than I ever anticipated a call like these for. It wasn't just, let me sell you these great packages. It was, well, let's take a step back, think about what you want to do, how you've grown for the last year. We don't even have to start you off on the entire package. Let's just figure out what maybe went wrong to give you some input on your next step. Right after that meeting, I purchased a Ding analysis to Stanford, which at the time was one of my dream schools, and I felt like I had a really compelling application. Within 48 hours of sending my stuff, I had this incredible detailed answer I almost felt like I had gotten feedback directly from the admissions committee of, we get you wanted to start a business, that's great, but everyone here wants to start a business. The feedback I got was I had started kind of the path of figuring out what I want to do, but I hadn't actually fleshed that out to make myself a compelling applicant. And that sort of zoomed in, crystallized version really hit me of, wow, I'm 3 weeks away from my next deadline. I don't even know how to tackle revisiting this, how much I have to reinvent myself and such. So I started again with kind of the baby steps of, okay, I want to apply just to Stanford, let's do this.
How was your experience with Inspira?
The support was incredible. Like, this was a company saying, all right, it's going to be hard. You're here to work. Our side is going to work as much as you need us to. And in 3 weeks, we had this brilliant plan to apply to Stanford and start looking ahead at the other pieces. I started from the ground again, and it was with a questionnaire, which ended up helping me even after already applying, where I felt I had done a lot of that self-discovery work of, this is the career I want, this is the growth I want to do, this is where I think I am and how I can contribute to a campus. This is a cliche phrase, but I took it to the next level. I was really able to connect all of my narrative in a way that didn't feel so much of the people around me that influenced me, but I had a lot more agency in crafting myself to be the person who I became and being able to translate that into, this is exactly the career I want. I know exactly what classes I can do, to paint a picture of, I know at a high level what I want to get from your school, and explode that into, I know what fellowship I would want to go. I know what professors I would want to work with. I know what clubs I want to do and how I want to tackle internships, to where I can very easily convey an image of, you admissions committee can see me in school maximizing every drop of resources you would give me to make you proud. And took that forward. Didn't get the result I wanted at Stanford, but I didn't lose hope. I had a bunch of other schools. I applied to others. I looked at round 2, and again, Mary, Grace, and Inspira were right there in my corner of, all right, you know how to do this. Let's break these essay questions down. Let's think of how we're going to do this. Let's edit, let's re-edit. Let's make sure we're getting that sentence to exactly convey what you want. And the result has been more than I could have ever dreamed. I've gotten into all 4 schools that I applied. At almost all of them, I've received scholarship money that I never saw myself being the type of candidate to receive a merit-based scholarship based on my experiences. And I find myself just having an embarrassment of riches of, I can't believe I got here. And I know for a fact that I don't think I'd be in this position without having had Inspira be part of my journey.
Which part of Inspira's support was most helpful for you?
Best part of working with Grace and Mary throughout this journey was the responsiveness. The fact that I really felt like I had a team in my corner that was invested in my success, as opposed to just another client that they had to check off the essays were submitted. They would always respond to my texts, take my calls if I was just brainstorming, respond to my emails, go down to line edits on Google. Like, I'd fill my essays with comments of, well, is this what I really mean? How is this coming across? They were just there for every single rant and frustration and piece of the process. That level of support, I don't think is the image anyone has of grad school consultants, and it's why I would recommend everyone to work with them. The second part that really sold me on Inspira was how they described the support journey. So it wasn't just editing your essays, it's running mock interviews and sending you a list of questions you could be asked, so you think through, how are you going to tell these stories in person to help elevate and present something new? How are you going to take these acceptances and help negotiate scholarship offers or financial aid so that you're being set up for success? That full package that's not just a piece of paper, but your entire application journey, is a really compelling service and offer.
What advice do you have for MBA applicants?
I think in my day-to-day as a consultant, we're told so much to executive message, to think about kind of the big ideas, 80-20 and such. So getting back to kind of a level of uncomfortable writing where you're putting so much detail about your hopes and dreams that you almost feel a little bit embarrassed to have someone else read it, takes a bit of time. These aren't essays that you can just write overnight and be able to really hit that emotion, to write that compelling narrative that makes someone read like, wow, I want to be part of this applicant's journey. So when I think about doing that by myself, when I'm pretty stretched thin during the week with travel and projects, having someone just be a second set of eyes to get me to that next level of questioning, that's putting on their hat of an admissions committee, and say, well, what do you really mean here? I want to hear more, and I don't want to wait or have to think too much about what this could possibly mean. Strip out all of that fluff and just really get down to, this is the person I want to present myself. I think taking a step back and thinking about the question specifically, it is hard to find time to get to that level of discomfort in your writing alone when you have a stressful job. So the best advice I could give to anyone applying to an MBA program is to start early and start thinking about who you are, who do you want to be, and how do you want to convey that image of yourself and your experiences down on paper that makes you a compelling applicant against a bunch of other people who maybe have your qualifications on paper, but they're not as special as you are.
Which schools were you accepted at?
I have been accepted to Harvard Business School, Wharton School of Business with a scholarship, the University of Chicago Booth School with a scholarship as well, and Columbia Business School.
What are you most looking forward to?
I'm excited to be back at school. I'm excited to be a student again who can go through a course book and explore all of these different areas that I haven't had the flexibility to listen to or dive into, and have people who are passionate about this, who have dedicated themselves to investigating this one problem or bringing these two corners of business together, and just learn from them and think about how I want to apply it in my career going forward. I want to be surrounded by people, again, who haven't worked at my company or haven't even worked the same job since they graduated, who went to a different school than in the Northeast with an Ivy League background. Just having all of these different perspectives, I think, will help make me a richer person, and the flexibility to just sit down and hear people, be surrounded by people, again, who are just passionate about thinking things completely different from my own interests is always exciting and great.
What is your long-term career vision?
I want to build sustainable cities, and I realize that's a vague goal. It's a big goal. I want to build a city that has services for low-income residents, that we're not continually just pushing people out to be super commuters, make transportation more effective, that takes advantage of the greatest research in green technology right now, making sure that these buildings are the best ways to run people, and think about how we build our homes and our environments to help balance work and our personal lives in a way that actually makes people live their healthiest lives and takes care of the planet. And finding people who are investing their time and energy to solving these problems and help bringing their ideas to life is what I hope to do in the next 10 to 15 years.